Shalom. First off, I want to start off by saying all praises, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Rakakadash. That's all praises to the world ignorantly calls God and Jesus Christ, whose true name is in the Hebrew is Yahweh for the Heavenly Father, Yahushai for his beloved Son. I also want to say double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and mercy to the hopeful elect preachers, word and truth and sincerity. I'm the brother Tazabah in the Great Millstone, Arizona camp. Lord will, with another video to edify. And I was watching one of the brothers in our camp video. And he was going into this particular video I have on the screen. I'll show you. Brother's channel is Babylon 2. We call this man the walking scriptures. Fold that brother up, put him in your pocket. You got a 1611 King James Bible. And he was going into this about this Japanese mom of 3 so-called half black children. So there's no half black in the scriptures.
Blazing kids.
Forgive me my language. Now, basically, this woman's her husband was in the military, and all her 3 children were born in Japan. So Jake will sit here and look at this, and some Israelites will look at this and say, if you don't have both a father and mother that's Israelite, you're not an Israelite. Now, that's wrong, because when you go into a parable of the wheat and tares, this is exactly what it's talking about. The mixing and mingling between the nations, and this is nothing new. So let me get some scriptures, and Lord willing, this will all be edifying. I'm going to start off with Ecclesiastes 1. Ecclesiastes 1 and 9. It says, and I've been bringing this scripture out a lot lately, because it brings back relevance that you have to keep thinking of these things. The things that are happening now, nothing's new. So the things that were happening in the Old Testament and the New Testament are things that are consistently happening in today. This is why the word can consistently apply all the time. This is why it's called the tried word, man, because over time, nothing's changed. This is Ecclesiastes 1 and 9. It says, the thing that had been is that which is, the thing that had been, it is that which shall be. And that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, it is new. It had been already of old time, which was before. You see? So what is something that happened in the past that's a relevant token of this as well? Not only going into the scattering, which we're going to touch on that a little bit, but also going into how Jake gets down, right? So when you go back into the scriptures in Genesis, the 6th chapter, Genesis 6 and 2, right? It says that the sons of the, I'll start at 1. It says, and it came to pass when man began to multiply upon the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, right? It says the sons of God saw that the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them and they took them wives of all that which they saw. Now the sons of God, who are the sons of God? Let me get this. So when you go to the book of Psalms, it tells you right here. It says, Psalms 8 and 62, Psalms 82 and 6. I have said, ye are gods, and all you children of the Most High, which is talking to who? The Israelites. When you go into the name of Israel, it's Yasha Allah, Yashar Allah. Yah meaning he, Shar meaning prince, Allah meaning power. He is the prince of a power, and a prince is the son of a king, right? Now you can go even further. And go into the book of Exodus, right? Exodus 4, and it tells you. It says, I'll start at Exodus 4 and 21. It says, and Yahweh said unto Moses, when thou goest to return into Egypt, see that thou do all those wonders before Pharaoh, which I have put in thy hand. but I will harden his heart, and he shall not let thee go. And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, Thus saith Yahweh, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. So the entire nation is the Lord's son. The men of the nation is the Lord's son, even his firstborn. So when it said the sons of God saw the daughters of men, meaning the daughters of all the nations, and they made them wives of them, right? And this is exactly no difference. This is no different. This is an evident token of the scriptures, man. Evident token of the things that happened in the past that are going to happen again. Now, when you go to Nahum 13 or Nehemiah 13, and what is that? Nehemiah 13 and 23. It says, in those days also, it says, in those days also saw I Jews that had married wives of Ashdod, Ammon, which are the Japanese, and Moab, which are the so-called Chinese. This is nothing new. They was always mixing and mingling with the other nations. The men of the nation is what brings forth the nation, not the women. So it says, and the children spake half in the speech of Ashdod, and could not speak in the Jews' language, but according to the language of each people, because Jake was mixing and mingling with the nations, and the men were getting too involved with those women, because the scriptures tell you these women were supposed to basically be lesser wives. They wouldn't have the same inheritance that an actual Israelite woman would have. When you marry a woman of another nation, she's supposed to be a concubine. It's a lesser wife. She doesn't have as much leadway as an actual Israelite woman would have. But what? Because they were married to these women, they started following their ways, and the children weren't being raised up in the law, statutes, and commandments. It says, and I contended with them and cursed them and smote certain of them and plucked off their hair and made them swear by the Most High, saying, Ye shall not give your daughters unto their sons, nor take their daughters unto your sons or yourselves, because they were sitting here. It's basically when you're giving them unto them, you're fully getting submerged with them. When we went into the nations, when you go into the law, if you saw a woman of another nation that you liked, right, and it was in the time of war, she would have to what? Clip all her nails off, as the law say, and shave her head and mourn her parents 30 days, and then you'd be able to go into her. So there's nothing wrong with what they did as marrying the women of the other nations. What was wrong was that they weren't teaching their children and raising them up in the law, statutes, and commandments, and the children that were Israelites were getting raised up in the ways of the heathen. But this is nothing new, right? And when you go in the book of Psalms 106, Psalms chapter 106, and 35, it says, I started at 34. It says, they did not destroy the nations concerning whom Yahweh commanded them. Going back into when they came out of the wilderness, right? But they started leaving some of them nations over. Even then, they didn't seek the counsel of the Lord, and they made a pact with a tribe of the Hamites, I believe. I believe it was the tribe of the Hamites, and they had to be hewers of wood and drawers of water, basically perpetual slaves. It says, but were mingled among the heathen and learned their works. And this is what happens, because we've been mingled and scattered among the other nations. This is what the Lord was talking about when you go into the wheat and the tares, man. Now I'm going to get this, and I'll end it on this. This is Ezekiel 36. You know, you got a slight little brief breakdown of the sons of men, right? This wasn't talking about the sons of God, wasn't talking about a bunch of angels that came down. The sons of God were the Israelites, that chosen line. We've always been here. You got a brief little history about how Israel went into the other nations and what the customs were and what happened. And now you're going to get a little bit of the understanding of the scattering, right? And this is a lesson that can really go on for days, man, because this is something so crucial to prophecy. This is Ezekiel 36 and I'll start at 18. Is wherefore I poured my fury upon them for the blood that they had shed upon the land, and for their idols wherewith they have polluted it, and I scattered them among the heathen. I got to start at 17. Son of man, when the house of Israel dwelt in their own land, they defiled it by their own way, and did by the and by their own and by their doings. Their way was before me as the uncleanness of a removed woman. And what is the uncleanliness of a removed woman? A woman that is in her period, her flower. Because during that time, when a woman, according to the law, we understand that today is not like that. We don't have our own lands. We don't have our own stuff to be able to keep these. In the kingdom, our women might not even have, probably won't even have these women periods and stuff. Because what that whole childbirth and how that came about was through sin. When the woman transgressed and she ate the fruit and coaxed Adam to do so also, that's when her plague came upon her for her wickedness. So what? In the kingdom, the Lord is going to wash away all sins. We won't go off anymore, so we won't be under those things. It says, a son of man, when the house of Israel dwelt in their own land, they defiled it by their own way and their doings, and it says, uh, their way was before me as the uncleanness of a woman of a removed woman. Verse 18, wherefore I poured my fury upon them by the blood that they had shed upon the land, for their idols wherewith they have polluted it. It says, I scattered them among the heathen. You see, Israel has been scattered among the heathen, and they were dispersed through the countries according to their way and according to their doings. I judged them. So Israel is in all nations. When you go in the book of Acts, I think it's Acts chapter 1. Is it 1 and 5 or 2 and 5? I think it's 2. Yeah, Acts 2 and 5. It says, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven, out of every nation, right? Because we were scattered throughout all nations. Verse 6, now when this was noised abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded because that every man had heard them speak in their own language, and they were all amazed and marveled, saying one to another, behold, are not all these which speak Galileans? Because the Lord put the power on them to speak in all these tongues, all these other nations' languages, the words of the Most High. It says, and how hear we every man in our own tongue wherein we were born, Parthians and Medes, right? The Medo-Persians, right? Which is going to the Iranians, Elamites, the East Indians, right? It says dwellers of Mesopotamia and Judea and Cappadocia and Pontus and Asia, Phrygia, Pamphylia and Egypt and parts of Libya and Cyrene and strangers of Rome, Jews and proselytes, Cretes and Arabians, we do hear them speak in our tongues the wonderful works of the Most High. So Israel had a bunch of flavors because they were stuck in all those lands, but their spirit was still Israelites because what? Through their fathers. When you go back to the law, I believe is it First Kings? First Kings. No, not First Kings. It might be Numbers 1 and Numbers 1 and 18. It says, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees, right? So let's go into that word pedigree in the blue letter. Numbers 1. I don't want to lose my place. Numbers 1 and 18. That word for pedigree is yalad in the Hebrew. Ya, la, da, la, yalad. And it says to bear, bring forth, beget, gender, travail. It says to bear, bring forth of childbirth and distress, to beget, to be born, to cause, to help, bring forth, to assist, and or tend as a midwife, And let's go into the actual word when you pull it up. Let's get that word pedigree. Where's that? Numbers 1 and 18, pedigrees. Where did I put it? Look, it says pedigree, genealogical table or chart. It says cognate with Greek geranos. It says an old manuscript descent was indicated by a forked sign resembling the branching lines of a genealogical chart. So the pedigree or the family tree went back to the fathers, right? It says Numbers 1 and 18. It says, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees, their family lines, after their families by the house of their fathers. So an Israelite is made by the father, not the mother. And according to the number of the names, uh, from 20 years old and upward by their polls. So this is exactly how a nation is brought forth through men, and Israel is scattered through all those nations. So Lord willing, this is edifying. I'm going to say, Koholah, Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Kakadash. Shalom.